call, just when we'll send it out after we conclude. We'll send it a little later with some of the attachments we discussed, just so you can review them if you want. If you move to the next slide, thank you everyone for joining the project and for all of the onboarding that you've done. If anyone does have any outstanding onboarding, I know there's a couple of people that joined a little later, but if there is anything outstanding for you to do, please make sure that you go ahead and complete it. I think most of you are already completely through the process. Just to introduce the folks on the call, so Susan Norris is your resource manager. She will be your main point of contact for this engagement. I work with Susan, so I'll be working with her a little bit as well. So if you ever try to contact her and she's not available, you can definitely reach out to me. Kevin Capleton, he's on the call as well. He's the lead on the Christus side. And then Matt Wagaman is the account executive for the client. And then we also have Jamie Nash and Jordan Stewart from our time and expense team. They're going to walk you through a little demo on how to do your time and expenses. And you can go to the next slide, Susan. So Matt, did you want to say a couple words?
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks everyone, like Stephanie said, for getting through all of the rigorous onboarding and everything that needs to be done to get started here. We're excited to get you all engaged this week and out there at the end of the week and off to the races from there. But welcome back to some of you that I know have been on previous waves, and for the new folks, it's a great client. Obviously going to be a big project, a big undertaking with a lot of different facilities and ministries going live at the same time, but hence why they're bringing in y'all with your expertise to make it a smooth and seamless transition. So thanks again. I will be out there, not next week, but the second week, and out there being San Antonio, where some of their larger facilities that are going live will be. So hopefully get a chance to meet y'all, and I'll coordinate with Kevin on that. But thanks again, and my number and email is there. So if you ever need anything that you're not getting an answer on, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. So as Stephanie mentioned, I'm the resource manager for this team. Main point of contact for you here at Experis. Any questions or concerns that you have throughout your engagement, please reach out to me. And, if it's not something I can take care of myself, I'll get you to the person who can. If you have any questions about travel or anything, in the next few days here, let me know. And if you can't reach me and you have an urgent matter, I've got the resource management team email address here that you can, send an email to, and someone will respond to you. So we're here to support you. And if you have any questions, let me know.
And then Kevin, did you want to talk a little bit about the Christus orientation tomorrow and Thursday?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Afternoon to everyone who's on the East Coast. But Dr. Sharif will be sending out all the necessary information for the orientation. I'm assuming you guys received it already, because I know there's an onboarding call that's following at 11:30 today, East Central. But he should be sending it out all to you guys and stuff like that. So I'll be the point of contact while on site for Christus. I've been with Christus for since the first engagement. I know a couple of faces on this. I know a couple of names that's on this that I've worked with in the past. So the ones that I haven't met yet, I'm looking forward to it. But it's a great client. So you guys will be very much engaged while on site, because it's a major project. Looking forward to seeing everyone.
Thanks, Kevin. And so orientation will be tomorrow and Thursday. Do you happen to know, I believe we did see where it's 8 to 5, or did you know the specifics on the timing?
I think based on what Dr. Sharif said, it should be 8 to 5, but I follow up with him at the 11:30 call this morning today to find out more. And if anything
Okay.
changes, then I'll let you guys know.
All right, perfect. And then just a couple of notes. He did say to please plan to be on camera, and then make sure you. So they just want to kick off the project in the best way possible. All right, next slide. So we will be paying you for 1 hour of time for this meeting. It will be coded as unbillable service time. That doesn't affect you in any way. It just means that we're not billing Christus for this call. And we will, and by we, Jordan and maybe Jamie will be entering it on your timesheet for you. So we just wanted to let you know that. And then, sorry to backtrack, you don't have to go back to the slide, but to backtrack on the orientation, you will be paid for that time as well. And that is billable to the client. Timekeeping. So I'm just going to walk through really quickly some information regarding time and expenses. And then Jordan's going to do a demo, just show you real quick how to enter time and also how to enter some expenses. So you do have this document that Susan sent in the second steps email, and we can actually attach it after this call too. So like I said, we'll send out the recording to this call, we'll send this presentation to you, and then we'll include some of the documents like this registration guide for Bullhorn time and expense, which is where you'll enter all your time and expenses, and that's how you actually get paid and get reimbursed for your expenses that you do have. So you will register to log into the system, and this is just a little screenshot of that information that's in the second steps email. And then next slide. And then you may not see your project right away. That's pretty normal. A lot of your projects are already set up in the system, but we're just doing some fine tuning on them to make sure they're all correct. If you don't see your project when you go to enter your time for your first week, please reach out to Susan and I, and we'll make sure we get that corrected, but you should see them. You're paid each Friday, so you're paid every Friday for the week's previous hours as long as your time is in on time. And then if you do live in, well, you know what? That won't come into play because you're going to be working in Louisiana and Texas, so you shouldn't have to clock in or out for anything. You'll just enter straight time. So if you work a 12-hour shift on site, you'll put that 12 hours in for each day that you do that. We do ask that time and expenses as well are entered by midnight on Sundays. As soon as Jamie and Jordan and the rest of that team start working on Monday, they start working on all of our time and expenses. We've got a lot going on, so getting it in is really critical to enabling them to get your stuff approved so that you can get paid on time. It is possible that your first paycheck would be a paper check. It's not the norm. Typically it always is direct deposit, but we just like to mention that just in case that happens. So if you don't see a direct deposit on not this Friday, but the one after, we can check and see if that is a paper check that you'll receive, but most likely you'll be fine as long as you have your direct deposit information in. So expense frequently asked questions. And like I said, Jordan will walk through this and we'll include some documentation for you and the expense policy. But you must upload any receipts that you have prior to starting an expense report, and Jordan will walk through that. If a change needs to be made to your expense report after it's submitted, and the expense team is making the change, they will reject your report and you will receive an automatic notification. But most of the time, it doesn't mean that you need to do anything. It just means that they rejected it for some reason to make a change. If they do need you to make a change to your expense report, they will actually reach out to you and either let you know what you need to modify, or they'll ask you a question if they had a question on any of your expense entries. If you do have any questions regarding your expenses, the HCIT expenses@experis.com email, that's the email address that you'll reach out to get those addressed. And then expenses are paid in the next week's pay cycle after they've been approved. There is an expense tips document. We'll also include that. It was with the second steps email. We'll include it with this information as well. And then another thing is just don't use a Mac to enter time and expenses that is not compatible with our system. And then lastly, please check your email frequently to avoid missing info. So if they do have a question regarding either time or expenses, they will email your email address that you used when you were onboarding, you know, the one we have on file, to reach out to you for any clarifying questions. So just make sure you're checking that, especially like Monday, Tuesday is when you'll see most of those questions come through. Our work week is Sunday to Saturday. So the first day of the week will be Sunday, last day will be Saturday. And then, like I already mentioned, the expense team begins auditing time and expenses, you know, as early as possible on Monday morning. So just make sure you get everything in on Sunday. Check your emails on Monday, probably Tuesday too, for questions. And then we do like to tell people that for any receipts you might have, you can use your phone to capture those photos. You do have a meal per diem. You don't have to save meal receipts. So you shouldn't have too many receipts, but that is a good way to keep track of them. For lodging. So Susan and I are working on booking your hotels. We have a lot of them booked. We just are getting them all booked, and then we'll start sending you the confirmations and all the information that you need. If you do have any questions, or if any issue arises at the hotel, you know, work with the hotel first. If they can't address whatever the issue is, you can contact Susan and I, and we can work with our travel partner if needed. Really, really important. Let's say the end date. Right now, we're booking all of the hotels from the 28th of February through March 22nd. Let's say, you know, you have to leave a couple days early before the 22nd. Any changes made directly with the hotel actually won't go through. Since we're using a travel partner to book all of the hotels, they actually need to be made through us. So like, even if you went to the front desk and said, oh, I'm checking out today on the 20th, it actually wouldn't take effect, and we would continue getting charged for those 2 days. So please, any changes that you need to make sure you reach out to Susan and I, and we'll work with our travel partner to make sure that those get changed. If you don't change it with us and we still get charged for a room, like, you are likely for us to actually charge you for that. So please make sure that you let us know if there's any changes. And then, like we said before, Susan said, if there's any times where you can't reach Susan or I and you need help with anything, but you know, even the lodging as well, if you need a change made, you can reach out to that hcitrms@experis.com email address. Susan and I are both in it. Our entire team is in it. It's a great group of people that are really helpful. So feel free to use it if you need to. And Jordan, we'll turn it over to you to do a quick demo.
Okay. Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I'm Jordan Stewart, and I'm part of the expense team. And let's see, can I go ahead and share my screen here? Can everyone see my screen here?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So once you get registered with Bullhorn, this is where you will enter your time. So I'm just going to do a demo here of what it would look like to enter any time. And everyone on this project will only have one on-site assignment. So here in this particular consultant's dashboard, you see that there's several assignments. You should only have one assignment. And you will simply just click on the date and enter the hours for each date. And you can copy through the whole week. And then once you've entered your time, you will want to submit it. And that's what it'll look like. Any questions there? Okay. To enter expenses, you have this expense tab up here. And you will want to upload receipts from your computer first thing. You can upload multiple receipts at one time. And then you hit start upload. So you can grab all of your receipts, upload them, and then upload them all into the expense bullhorn system right here at the same time. Okay. Once you have your receipts uploaded, you will go down here and you will choose the week that you want to create your new expense report. I know a couple of these receipts have dates from 2/17, so I'm choosing 2/22 for the week that I'm adding these receipts to. Okay, so here's an example of a mileage receipt. One thing to remember is whatever picture or receipt you see on the left-hand side needs to match what you're entering over here on the right-hand side. So you'll go in here and you'll choose your client. This is just an example. The client here is Novant. You'll choose your assignment, and for you all, it'll just be an on-site assignment, just one assignment to choose for. And for this project, none of your expense reports will be billable. Everything will be pay only. So you will select no. And then in this case, a mileage receipt, you'll enter the date you traveled. You'll choose the expense code, which is mileage pay only. Here you'll enter the mileage. So over here, we're going to grab this mileage, the fastest mileage, which is 24.4 miles. In the description, you can write mileage, and you can say it was from home to airport. Once you've got everything entered here, this is an important step that makes it easy. You want to click this image. Click next image and hit save. And then if you're done using this image, you'll hit done with image. If you need to use this image for another expense, let's say you were recording mileage to the airport and then home from the airport, you would use finish later. But in this instance, we're just going to select done with image. We're just doing our mileage since you'll just be traveling one time this week. You're going to hit done with image, and that clears that receipt off. And then you'll start again. So that means you've got your mileage entered, everything's good. You may have some gas expenses. This is a gas receipt. And we're going to grab the date on this receipt, which is 2/17. And this is a miscellaneous or other expense. And we're going to enter the amount. And we're going to enter the description as fuel. And again, we're going to select next image because we've got everything entered here. It matches here. Save. Done with image. So from here, you can submit for approval, but you don't want to submit until the end of the week when you've got everything added. But for instance, if you are doing your expense report and you get interrupted or you need to pop out for whatever reason, you can just go ahead and exit. And you'll come back to your dashboard again. You'll go to your expenses tab. And you can come over here to existing expense reports and you'll see your report that you are working on. And you can pop back in there and make any changes. You will need to, if you have new receipts, you will need to upload the receipts. Just like we did at the beginning, you would need to upload your receipts. I can kind of do that really quickly to show you. Let's say you forgot a receipt and you got interrupted. You go through the same process as we did. You've got your receipt here. You can come over here to existing expense reports and hit edit. And it grabs the new receipt that you forgot to add. And you just go through the same process of entering it. If you do happen to get a prepaid gas receipt, we will need the final receipt showing $0 balance or $0 given for change. Make sure your mileage map shows the total number of miles. And I guess we can do a per diem, what a per diem. So let's go ahead and enter this mileage receipt. So this is okay, and you all will be entering per diem. So you can enter those. Same thing, meals, pay only. Your per diem is $50 a day, regardless if it's a travel day or not. And you can go through and enter it just like this for every day. And just keep going down for every day.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I'm going to jump over on the other call, okay?
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome.
I think this is, I think that's all the company paid items, the airfare, the car, the lodging will not be entered into Bullhorn. So really it should just be meals, fuel and mileage, unless I'm missing something. So I think, I mean, anything else to add, Jamie or Stephanie? Hi.
There might be, instead of mileage, you might expense taxi to and from the airport.
Okay.
Other than that, there may be parking at the airport if somebody parks there.
Okay.
Other than that, there really shouldn't be a whole lot of other expenses added.
What about baggage? Baggage check-in?
You can expense
Yeah,
one
yeah.
bag. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll share at the end of the call, sorry, we should have done it a little earlier, but Susan will put the expense policy up on the screen and we'll walk through that too. And then we'll also include it in the follow-up email as well.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for walking through that.
Yeah, no problem.
And Susan, I guess put up, yeah. So one thing we just like to remind everyone, obviously you're all getting hit with a lot of information at this time, and then you're going to go through the client orientation too. But if you do have questions specific to the project in terms of like time or expenses, or how do I put in my time or expenses, or any of that kind of stuff, refer to that second steps email that Susan sent, and or the one that we'll send after this call, because most likely the answer to your question will be in that documentation. You absolutely can still reach out to Susan and then me if she's not available, but those emails should have everything you need. We just like to remind everyone, professional attire, generally business casual, you know, pretty standard, I'm sure, information that you're all, or dress that you're used to. And then options travel. So options, like I said, that's for those of you that are booking flights and cars. When you go into Concur, you're actually booking through options travel. If you do need to make any changes, you need to call options. So as an example, everyone should have just booked their flight to their locations and not home yet. But if anyone did have to make a change for any reason, like say you did book your flight home and for some reason you had to make a change, you definitely need to call that 847 number and make the change through options rather than going directly to the airline. Same thing with any car modifications. And then again, on the hotels, for sure, reach out directly to Susan and I so we can make any changes for you. And then most of you have booked your flights. For those that haven't, definitely do that as soon as possible if you're going to be flying. I'm not going to walk through Concur since most of you have actually gone in and booked your flights and your cars already. But if you do have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. Just something to note, you do have to use an authenticator to get into Concur. So the login information for Concur, Susan sent that to you with the email that she sent that's titled "Permission to Book Travel Granted," something like that. And there are instructions with that email and with the second steps email, but we do recommend using the Google Authenticator. We've had the best luck with that authenticator for getting into Concur. So we do recommend that one. And then the next few slides are really just walking through. Booking in Concur is really similar to any booking site that you could use to book a flight or a car. So it's pretty straightforward, but these screenshots just kind of walk you through it. So if you did want to reference them, you can. And then we will open it up for questions. And while we're doing that, Susan can pull up the expense document. We can review that as well real quick. But did anyone have any questions? Feel free to unmute and ask away. I think I saw a question regarding whether MD would be on your badge. I don't, since I'm not involved with that. It's really the client, and unfortunately Kevin dropped off already. I'm not 100% sure. I would think so, but I don't know the answer to that for sure. I can ask Kevin and see if he knows.
It was last time.
Okay, good. Thank you for letting us know that. All right, I will walk through this really quick, and then if anyone has any additional questions, definitely let me know. So for meals, so like I said before, it is a meal per diem. You do not need to stay receipts. Yay, that is the best news ever for both you and for our expense team. So no receipts required, $50 a day. It's $50 a day on the days that you travel to. So like the 28th, you can put in a $50 per diem for that day. Airfare. So we already talked about this a little bit, but flights must be booked through Concur. Please try to use the lowest logical airfare. And then I know I just noticed a couple people booked refundable flights. not a big deal. You don't need to change anything now, but it does generally increase the cost. So just for anyone that hasn't booked yet, definitely book non-refundable. We didn't have a super high estimate for flights, so we just want to be as cognizant of the cost as we can. Standard baggage fee will be reimbursed for one bag. If anyone has any trouble with that or questions about that, definitely feel free to reach out to us. We can discuss it. And then we do ask that people not book flights on JetBlue or Spirit. Generally, we just have some issues with those. And then we don't reimburse for like flight upgrades or, if it changes are for a personal reason, we generally don't cover that depending on what the reason is, of course. Hotel. So we did discuss we will be booking all of the hotels for you. We've booked a lot of them already. We will be getting that information out to you as soon as possible. But all changes, please reach out to Susan and I so you can make those changes. If for some reason you can't get in touch with Susan and I, you can use that RM's email box that we mentioned earlier. You are required to submit a credit card when you're checking into the hotel. I think it's when you're checking in for incidentals. So any incidentals would be charged to you. And then if we're charged like additional fees due to not showing up or damage to the room, or like you checked out but you didn't tell us, so we didn't tell we didn't tell CLC, any of that would be deducted from your expense reimbursement. Car rentals, we prefer National Enterprise. I know at least one location doesn't have that as an option, so obviously that you'll use Avis in that circumstance. For booking through National, make sure you're an Emerald Club member prior to reserving your car. And then we cover intermediate size cars or mid-size, I think is what it says on the site. We will not approve larger cars unless there literally is not another option. So that's the only time that we do. And then make sure that the car is filled up before you return it at the end of the project, because they do charge more money if it's not. So not things that are not reimbursable or refueling charges like GPS devices, which I don't think anyone needs those with phones these days, but additional insurance, satellite radio, and then again, cars that are larger than the intermediate cars. And finally, for transportation and parking, we do, if you're driving your own car to and from the airport, mileage is reimbursable at the GSA rate, which is currently 70 cents a mile. And then just include that mileage map with your expenses like Jordan walked you through. Gas is not reimbursable when using your personal vehicle, but the mileage is. And then when you have a rental car, you only submit the gas receipts, you don't submit mileage. You are able to put in any taxi, Lyft, or Uber. So like if you did take an Uber to and from the airport, you can expense that. If you're not, I know there's 3 of you that are going to be staying somewhere where you can walk to the hospital in downtown San Antonio. So we're not having you rent a car. Obviously you can put in for a taxi, Lyft, or Uber from the airport. And Susan and I will communicate a little more about that to you individually. And then as far as tips goes for those, like a Uber and that type of thing, just make sure that the tip doesn't exceed 20% of the base rate. So there's like the base rate, and then there's like fees on top of that or taxes. So you would just be tipping the 20% on the base rate. And then things that aren't reimbursable are, like an Uber to go to dinner at night, something like that. And then again, expenses due Sunday by midnight. And that just was really important in terms of us being able to process all of your time and expenses to get you paid, and then also for invoicing. Any questions after reviewing all of that? All right. Well, if you all think of anything at all, please reach out to Susan and I, and we'll get your questions answered. If it's anything we need to follow up with another team on, we will make sure we do that and get you your answers. Thank you again for attending the call. We'll send that follow-up email I hope everything goes well tomorrow with the orientation with the client. Again, just make sure you're on camera and in a good location with good service, and safe travels. And I hope the project is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.